Hi, this is Tracy Tressiter from Golf Mindplay. Welcome to an introduction to Stableford scoring. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes you'll learn some tips and some rules about how to score Stableford. Stableford scoring was originally developed by Dr. Frank Stableford of the Liverpool Club in England in 1931, and he designed the game to speed up play, and rather than counting every stroke that you hit as you would do in stroke play, Stableford allows you to score points based on your handicap. In the game of Stableford we refer to par, and in this example it is in relation to your handicap. Scoring is calculated as follows. Par is 2 points, 1 over par is 1 point, 2 over par is 0 points, 1 under par is 3 points, and 2 under par is 4 points. If you have played to your handicap, you will have 36 points. Now there are some definitions that you need to understand that are commonly used when playing Stableford. They are par, index, and handicap. Par can mean two things. It can mean the par for the hole, that is the number of strokes in which the hole should be played based on its length, and this is actually written on the card for each hole. And the other meaning for par is the par for the course, and then in this instance it is the number of strokes in which the entire course should be played if you were a scratch golfer, that is playing off 0, so your handicap would be 0. It is the addition of the individual hole pars, and for the card that you're looking at, we have the men's in the blue and the ladies in the red. The men's par for the course is 72 if you look right to the very bottom. That is 36 on the front and 36 on the back, giving them a total par of 72. And for the ladies, we're looking over at the right hand side at the red column. They have 37 strokes allowed for the front playing to par and 37 for the back, which gives a total of 74. Index rates the degree of difficulty on each hole, and index 1 is generally speaking the most difficult. Index 18 is usually the easiest, and the index allows the golfer to allocate their handicap points over the holes on the course. Indexes are determined by taking a number of cards played in competition over the season and averaging them out for each of the 18 holes on the course. Here we have the sample card again, and I've highlighted the easiest and the hardest holes on the course for both the men and the women. The hardest hole is index 1, and for ladies that is the 4th hole, and for men it is the 14th hole. The easiest hole on the course is index 18, and for men that is hole number 8, and for ladies that is the 16th. Handicap refers to a numerical representation of a golfer's playing ability. So the lower a golfer's handicap, the better the golfer is. A 2 handicapper is better than a 10 handicapper, who is better than a 20 handicapper. It is basically the number of strokes above the par for the course that you would average. Your initial handicap will be determined by playing 3 stroke rounds with a player who has a registered handicap. The 3 cards will be returned to the clubhouse and averages will be created, and your handicap will be determined from those 3 cards. Handicap is adjusted almost every time you play in a competition, and depending on your score for the round it can go up, down or remain the same. It can move as little as 0.1. It enables players of all standards to compete against each other. So a golfer with a handicap of 10 can play in the same competition as a golfer with a handicap of 25 or 45. It doesn't really matter because your handicap is taken into account. We need to allocate handicaps to indexes so that you can actually work out how you play the game according to your handicap and how you score. The index for each hole allows you to allocate your handicap over the individual holes. In reference to an 18-hole competition, 45 handicap is allocated 2 extra strokes per hole plus an additional stroke on the 9 hardest holes indexed 1 to 9. That is 3 additional strokes on index 1 to 9 and 2 additional strokes on index 10 to 18. A 36 handicapper is allocated 2 extra strokes on all 18 holes. An 18 handicapper is allocated 1 extra stroke on all 18 holes. A 9 handicapper is allocated 1 extra stroke on only the holes indexed 1 to 9. And on the remaining holes, he or she does not get any strokes at all. Here's a question just to see if you're getting the concept of index and handicaps. If you had a handicap of 27, how would it be allocated on an 18-hole course? You would get 1 stroke on every hole and 2 strokes on holes indexed 1 to 9. If you had a handicap of 38, how would that be allocated over the 18-hole course? And the answer is 2 extra strokes on all 18 holes and 3 strokes on holes indexed 1 and 2. They are the hardest holes. If you break a handicap, you'll first lose strokes on the easiest holes, and they would be the holes indexed 18. That would be the first one that you lose, followed by index 17 and so on. So how do we actually score for Stableford? So what we have to do here is take into account the index for each hole, and you make a mental note of your par for the hole based on your handicap. And this example is based on the ladies' index. And we're going to use an example of a person who's on a 45 handicap. So if your handicap is 45 and you are on the second hole, according to this card that we're using, the par is 5 and the index is 15. So you're allocated 2 extra strokes, therefore your par for the hole is actually 7. So if you have 7 strokes, you will score 2 points. If you have exceeded your own par by 2 strokes based on your handicap, you cannot score any points for that hole and you must pick up. So here's a sample of a completed scorecard. There are some things that you must actually have on the card when you return it to the pro shop, the clubhouse or the committee for competition purposes. In this instance, Jane Doe is the player. She's on a handicap of 45 and Tracy T is the marker on a handicap of 9. This is Jane Doe's card, and you'll see that we've got her name on there, and next to the word player I put the initials JD, and next to the marker I put TT. So Jane Doe is the player, TT is the marker. There are certain things that must go on the card. You must have the player's name and handicap, the date, and the type of competition. Now, quite often, these things will actually be automatically printed by the pro shop when you go in and pay your comp fee. If these things are not on the card, you must make sure you write them in, otherwise you could be disqualified from the competition. As you go through the round from hole to hole, you actually put the stroke score in for the hole. If you exceed the number of strokes allowable for your handicap in Stableford, you must pick up the ball and no score is entered. You just put in a little line like a minus sign. Now on the card that we're looking at here, Jane Doe on the 9th hole didn't score, so she's picked up on that hole, so she's had a little line put in there, or looks like a minus, but just a line to indicate that she has not scored. And we've added up her Stableford scores on the front 9, and she's actually scored 13 Stableford points on the front 9. The player and the marker must both sign the card at the completion of the round. One of the common errors for beginner golfers is that they actually sign the card at the beginning so they don't forget to sign it at the end. The problem with that is that it's actually illegal to do that. It's against the rules of golf. You must not sign the card before the round is complete, because you are actually attesting to the accuracy and the completeness of the card by signing it. So therefore you cannot sign a card that doesn't have any scores on it. If you forget to sign the card, you will be disqualified from the competition. So here are some examples. If you're on the 4th hole, it's a par 5, The ladies' index is 1. This is the hardest hole. You are allocated 3 extra strokes because you're playing off 45. So your par for this hole is 8. If you take 7 strokes to get in the hole, that is 1 under your par, so you will actually score 3 points. And how we say it is this: you can say 7 a 3 or 73. So it's 7 strokes, 3 Stableford points. So 7 a 3 or 73. Depends on how the people you play with like to call it. If you're on the 16th hole, it's a par 3. The ladies' index is 18. This is the easiest hole. You are allocated 2 extra strokes, and therefore your par is 5. If you take 6 strokes to get into the hole, you'll score 1 point. So 6 a 1. It's best to call out your score as you pick the ball out of the hole. Just call out your stroke score. Don't worry if you can't remember how to score the Stableford points, not a problem. The key thing is to have the strokes actually written down on the card. We can work out the Stableford points later. So there are a number of advantages of Stableford. It actually speeds up play, since once you cannot score, you must pick the ball up. You cannot continue. You cannot putt out, as we say. If you have a couple of bad holes, you might be able to make up extra points on other holes, and players of all ability can play in the same competition together. When you begin your Stableford round, mentally work out your par for the hole that you're playing. So on the first hole, work out what is your par. This is essential to keep the game moving. You need to know at what point you must pick up the ball, as you cannot score. Once you can't score, pick it up and then attend the flag for those who are still able to score. Marking the card. As you leave the green, tell your marker your stroke and Stableford score. Complete the scorecard at the next tee. Don't hang around the green to complete your scorecard, because quite often that holds up play for the people approaching that green that you've just finished on. So move to the next tee and complete the scorecard there. The person with the best Stableford score has the honour, and they must tee off while the others are marking their card. Once they have hit off, they'll step off the tee, mark their card while the rest of the group is actually teeing off. Ensure you write the actual strokes and the Stableford score on the allocated hole. Now, if you can't work out the Stableford score at that point, don't panic too much. It's just the actual strokes that are most important. Many clubs these days have computers that allocate the Stableford score. So if you do have problems, that it will sort it out, but usually amongst the 4 of you, you can work out what the Stableford score is. The most important thing is to have the number of strokes recorded. Check with your marker at the end and sign the card. Make sure you haven't signed it early, that's illegal. Sign the card at the end, go through all these strokes, compare scores, and then you sign your card, you sign your fellow competitor's card, so that there's 2 signatures on each card, and then that is returned to the club for competition purposes. If you'd like some more information on other aspects of golf, particularly the mind play of golf, contact me at tracy@golfmindplay.com, or you can go to my website golfmindplay.com and download a free tip sheet to help you with all the mental aspects of your game, or you can sign up to our monthly newsletter and get some ongoing tips, or you can join our Facebook page, or you can visit the Golf Mind Play YouTube channel to see Tracy's 2-minute mind tips. Wherever you are in the world, here's to great golfing. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to stable scoring. Go out there and play great golf, and I'll be with you soon.